Hi everyone, my name is Whitney and welcome to my channel Wild Heart Warrior. So before I get started today, I wanted to say thank you to all of my followers. I've already hit 20 subscribers and I can't believe it. I'm really happy that you guys like my content and are enjoying this. So if you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it because I hope to keep creating this awesome community. So today I want to talk a little bit about home. So home is something I've been thinking of a lot. I don't know if it's because of the sort of concentrated situation of the pandemic and quarantine and having a lot of time to sort of think about these things and also being far away from home. But the idea of what home means, what home is to me, where is home, right now is something that I've been thinking a lot about. Also being sort of, I don't want to say trapped, but to be at home most of my days it's definitely giving me the chance to think about this. So what I want to do is I'm going to split this into two videos, I think. So the first one's going to be talking about the traditional sense of home and my roots and where I come from and telling a little bit about my background. And then also the next video I want to talk about created home, or the different homes that I've found or created for myself, and my changing definition of home, I guess. So a little bit of background. So I'm from New England in the United States, for those of you who don't know me, and I was born in Massachusetts and grew up in New Hampshire in the White Mountains. But for 9 years now, I've been living in Bogota, Colombia, in South America. So I'm far away from home, and it's been a while since I've lived in the place where I grew up. So it's an interesting thing because it's sort of become a part of like this imaginary for me, because I've changed a lot since I lived there, and it's changed a lot since I've lived there, and it's something that's always something that I carry with myself and that I think about a lot, but it still seems pretty distant to me. So it's this space of like feeling close but far away that's I'm kind of constantly negotiating or understanding, I guess, in myself. And so I want to tell you a little bit about my childhood and where I come from, what it was like, and how I feel about it now. So when I was 5 years old, my parents moved us up to New Hampshire, where my parents purchased a old abandoned house, like an old New England house in Madison, New Hampshire. And it had been abandoned for several years before that. It was sort of like the haunted house of the road. And it was beautiful but needed a lot of work. So when my parents bought the house, they renovated it and made it absolutely beautiful. And they converted it into a bed and breakfast. It was amazing. We had a lot of outdoor space. We had amazing gardens. In front of our house, there was a apple orchard where you could pick your own apples. And we had walking trails and snowmobile trails in the back of the house with ponds and little streams going through it. So it was really an idyllic place to grow up, honestly. And we even had chickens at one point, so we had fresh eggs and things like that. It was beautiful. So some of the things that I really remember from this time, I lived there for 10 years of my life, from the time I was 5 to 15. So really like the chunk of my childhood was in this house. It was called the Maple Grove House. And it's sort of, when I think about it, it's like where I got so much influence of who I am today or what I want to create in the world. So I remember my mom and my dad and sort of their roles in this project and in my life, and how that influences me today. So my mom, because my dad actually commuted back and forth from Boston to New Hampshire, he was not around as much as my mom was. So my mom did most of the work at the house. Like during the week, and most of the time, she was the one who was booking the reservations. She was cooking the breakfasts for our guests, cleaning the rooms, making the beds, cleaning the bathrooms, doing the ironing, doing the laundry, all of these things, as well as taking care of the garden in the spring and the summer, and taking care of me and my brother. My dad, so my mom was kind of this, superwoman. I think I didn't really realize it at the time, but when I look back and think of all of the things that she was doing, it's really inspiring to think about. And it's been a big influence for me. I had a bakery business and here in Colombia, which I might do a video on in the future, but I really channeled like her creativity and her hospitality and her gift for cooking and baking and creating amazing spaces. That's something that I really want to inspire in the things that I do. So I like to channel that side of her. And then my dad was sort of like he came when he was at home. He was out in his workshop. He was building things. He was mowing the lawn. He was taking care of like the outdoor space and sort of fixing things and building things. And he had his tractor and the snow machines and the four-wheeler. And for me, it really inspired me to, first of all, like play a lot, because I feel like my dad was always had a project, always had a new toy. And it inspires me to, first of all, like play and do, find fun things to do and new projects, but also to fix things by myself and to be like really self-sustainable when it comes to kind of like the home jobs, like fixing things and building things. And I sort of pride myself in doing that for myself and being able to do that. And I think I get that a lot from my dad. And at the same time, this space in this Maple Grove house, it was a space of sharing. I remember that we would celebrate 4th of July there. We would celebrate New Year's, Christmas, and a lot of, family dinners and get-togethers in the summer. And my parents put on an art show for a while. And when we would have people, lots of big families that would come up and do skiing in the winter time, and we would just all gather around and have a fire in the fireplace and telling stories and sharing good food. And for me, those spaces of community and family and friends gathering together in cozy spaces is something that's really, really important to me now as well. And I think I get that influence a lot from that. And also, the seasons, and that every season has something else to offer, and the attitude of New Englanders being a little bit, self-reliable, self-reliant, and tough. Like, it's cold, but we're going to tough it out. And, we're going to, I don't know, we sort of pride ourselves on being a little bit tough and able to weather the storm, I guess I would say, because it's tough in New England in the wintertime especially. So I think that I carry that with myself as a way of like, it's important. It's a value to me to be self-reliant and to be able to tough the storm kind of thing. And I see that in a good way. It has its downfalls, but I think that it's important. So honestly, when I lived at home, I think that there was a part of me, like when I was growing up, that I felt like left out a lot of the time. I don't know, I found it hard sometimes to find, I guess, myself, to find my place. And so I had a kind of complicated relationship with the home, I guess, which is something it's interesting to look back on and now sort of where I'm at now with it. But when I think back, there was some tough moments where I felt like, I didn't fit in at school, or I just kind of got like bored. When I was younger, I really wanted to travel and I wanted to see new cultures and learn about new things and different people. And I just felt like I didn't really fit in because of that. So I did have like depression for a time in high school, and just kind of felt like, why, like, what is my thing? What is my place? What am I doing wrong? And so it makes sense to me that I felt a lot at home being in Latin America, or yeah, in Latin America, I felt like I found a new sense of home, which I'll talk more about in my next video, but it made sense to me when I started exploring the world. I started to feel like I settled more into myself, and it made more sense to me how I had felt before in my hometown, or how I still feel sometimes when I go to my hometown. Uh, and at the same time, so it created like an understanding of myself, being able to move away from home. And moving away from home really helped me appreciate home, or these roots, and what my childhood gave me, or taught me, and everything that made me who I am today. From that time, I started to appreciate the nature, because the White Mountains are beautiful. And it wasn't until like living in a city and really understanding the value of little things like fresh air, and being able to go walking in the woods, and to be able to just spend so much time outside and enjoy nature, and enjoy fresh air, and the beauty of all the different seasons that we have in New England. But it also it helped me understand my place in the world a little bit better also. And I think that ever since I left home, I have been going through this process of sort of figuring out how to integrate that into my life. And as I get older, or as it's been more time that I've spent away from home, I really feel like I need to reconnect with that space, and integrate that experience into me. So I sort of said this earlier, but I did have a bakery business where I really wanted to express those memories of home, and coziness, and comfort food, and my mom's cooking, and New England, and share that with my customers. And I don't have that bakery anymore, but as I move forward and I think, like, what do I want to share and do in my life? I want to create community spaces. I love creating, home. And just, I really appreciate the perspective that I've been able to have from living at home, away from home, and to really value the process and the meaning of my roots in me, and in who I am today. So next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my new definition of home, and what it means to me, and how I create home wherever I am and inside of myself as well. So these are just some thoughts about me, some stories about my roots, and I would love to hear you share about your experiences with home, or thoughts about your meaning of home, or anything. If you've lived away from home, or if you've had some experience that changed your perspective of home, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you have any questions about my process with this, I would also love to hear your questions. So until next week, I hope you guys have a great week, and thanks for joining me today. Bye.